Hello, everyone, and welcome to Thursdays Live with Chug. Each week, we cover pressing topics that matter to you and your business. My name is Arianna Gonzalez, Client Services Manager here at Chug Attorneys and CPAs, tuning in from our San Diego office. And joining me today is attorney Esther Kui from Herndon, Virginia. Hi there, Esther, and welcome.
Hi, Arianna. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for taking the time to be here, Esther. So, for today's topic, we're going to be talking all about fundraising for startups using safe and convertible notes. Just a quick disclaimer for those who are tuning in, we are live on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. This conversation is for informational purposes only and does not create an attorney-client relationship. So please comment any questions you have below or email us at info@chug.com and we'll be happy to help you out. So let's get right into it, Esther. Can you start by explaining what seed funding is, especially for those who are new to the startup world?
Sure. Thank you, Arianna. This is a really basic question, but it's really important. So the seed funding is known as seed investment or seed capital. So this is a very important funding. It is the initial round of financing. So you can imagine yourself put a teeny tiny seed in a pot and wait for it to grow up. So this round is really important, specific for early startup company, because this round will finance their operations, initial operations, hiring talented before they can secure a larger investment. So this round is really important, and that's a basic for the startup company. Of course, there are several different features and characteristics for it. So the first of all, as I mentioned, it is early stage. So basically, every company who is intent to grow up and develop the more business, so this is gonna be an early stage round. The second is it's gonna be the size. The size will be small compared to the subsequent financing round, because it can be range from a few thousands to million, like 1 million, 2 million. It really depends on the negotiation, but the investment amount can be small because it's just a start. And the third part is investor. So there are different type of investor in this stage. It can be angel investor, like your friends, the person who have faith in you, and of course the VC and the startup accelerator. So these are the typical investor in the early stage. And the fourth is because it is a new early stage. So of course it can be in exchange for the equities. So which means that the investor joined earlier, they would like to be a part as the owner, as a part of the company. So these are several key features for the seed funding.
That's a great overview of seed funding. Let's dive into that third step. You mentioned getting an investor a little bit. So let's say, for example, I'm a startup founder. What preparations should I make, for example, before I approach an investor for seed funding? What do I need to have in mind?
Sure, thank you so much. I think it's a really wonderful, wonderful question. So first of all, you should think of the way an investor will think. So you put yourself in investor's shoes and think of what they are looking for in your business. So of course, this stage, they're looking for a solid proof of concept. They're looking for a stable funding team, and of course, they are looking for your business plan, whether there are competitors and how healthy the marketing is. So these are all the things they're looking for. You need to know what they're looking for and where your business is heading to. So these are all the things very important. So I can give you some example. So the first of all, you should always have a business plan with you, because when you approach the investor, you should show how confident you are in this business. So basically, you need to have a clear and precise business plan that outlines your startup missions, the target marketings, the revenue, the strategy, what risk you are facing, and what you think you have the strong and what is your focus on. So this is the business plan. The second part is you also should have a proof of concept. So show evidence that how healthy or how promising your business is, and that they have a valid marketing demand. You can show the user data. You can see, you can show them like early customer testimony, pre-orders. These are all the things that you can show as a proof of concept. Of course, the third one is funding team. This is every investor gonna ask, because the funding team is, I can say, it's a core of the business. You need to show that you have professionals who know what they're doing and where the business are. Ensure with the investor that hey, if you invest the money, I know what I'm doing, I have a very strong team, and we can carry our business on and on and on. So this is the confidence you need to convey to the investor. And of course, the fourth point is IP. Specifically in this world, like everybody is talking about AI, like new idea and new platform software. So these are all the things that you need to keep in mind when you start idea, new idea. You need to protect your IP, intellectual property. Probably can by application for patent or by application for trademark, DBA, to establish your brand, to make everybody know what you are doing and what your business is. So this is what we are discussing about IP. And the fifth thing is about legal. So everyone should know that when they invest money, they want to know this entity if it is in a good shape. So whether it is still, there's a certificate of good standing, and whether they're in compliance with the law, or if these people know what they're doing and they are following the law. So these are also the things that the investor gonna want to do. And the last part is fund asking. So which means that you should always be prepared to be asked by some investor, hey, if I invest, what you gonna do with my money? So where are you gonna invest? Where are you gonna focus? Whether I have a say or not. So these are all the things you will need to be prepared, because once you are asked, you should show your confidence and faith in your business.
I loved the detail you provided in that, Esther. Thank you so much. So if you are thinking about approaching an investor for your startup, make sure you have a business plan in place. Make sure you have your proof of concept, details about your founding team. Make sure you can highlight your skills and all of the great things that you guys focus on. Make sure your IP is protected if that's relevant to you. You're speaking with your attorney to make sure you're compliant in all the aspects legally. And then of course, how much funding you need and what are your plans to use it. So I loved that detail that you went into, Esther. I appreciate that. So let's talk about the timeline. What does a timeline for seed funding typically look like? Are there different stages that we need to be aware of? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure, Arianna, you should know it is a really big topic, right? So what happened is that it really depends on the personality of the investor and what the investor are. Because if it is a company and they're professional, they probably will take some time. But sometimes it's just an entrepreneur or sole practitioner, so they want to make decision very quick. So it really based on case by case. But I can give a very brief frame. So the first of all, this is the preparation phase. So the preparation phase is the phase that I just introduced, the everything that you need to prepare before you approach to a investor. But the second part is initial outreach. So which means that once you prepare everything, you probably in mind already have a list of investors that you want to attract. So in that case, you can approach them with confidence by presenting all your material you have, like business plan, a solid proof of concept. So these are all the things that you need to present for the initial outreach. The third part, of course, is going to be due diligence. So a lot of investors, based on your presentation and based on the communication, they kind of have a brief idea about what business you have and whether they're interested. But of course, internally, they're probably going to do a more research about the marketing, about the competitor, and who will be focused on what. So these are all the due diligence probably they will do, and it really takes a couple of there can be a couple of days for a quick decision maker, but of course it can be several months. It really depends. And once that stage is completed, then the fourth stage gonna be both parties getting together and coming up with a term sheet or letter of intent. So in the term sheet, what they're going to decide is, what is the obligation, what are the rights, what are the warranties, the valuation of the company. Of course, what is the key founder teams cannot leave randomly during the middle, whether they have the right to appoint the directors on the board, whether they have the right to appoint observant on the board. These are all the things, and also about the voting rights, whether they have voting rights or have no voting rights. So these are all the key elements that they're gonna put in the term sheet. And after that, it will be, the fixed in the real agreement. So this is the legal documents coming into the picture, and everybody gonna be negotiate. Probably both parties gonna have attorneys reviewing agreements, and then they can make the decision, to sign or continue updating the agreements. So these are all the general procedure that we are introducing here. But of course, for the seed funding, everyone wants to make it shorter and quicker. So basically, compared to the subsequent fundraising, such as Series A, B, C, D, the seed running can be a really quicker one compared to the others. Thank you, Arianna.
That was great insight, Esther. I appreciate you covering that in detail. So we've heard of a few different tools that people use in seed funding to facilitate this process for them. Tools like safe and convertible notes, which we've kind of touched on. Could you explain a little bit about safe and convertible notes, what these are, and how startup founders can use them?
Sure. When you mention safe and convertible notes, I have to say these two are very common tools, specifically for the seed rounding, because compared to the traditional equity, purchase, it is easier and quicker for the investor and for the founders as well. So the first of all, they are very common and they are very common tool. The second is, let's discuss about safe first. So safe, as we know is SAFE, but actually the long name is Simple Agreement for Future Equity. So it is a simple agreement. As we can imagine, it can be like only 2 or 3 or 4 pages. And it is created by a startup accelerator we call Y Combinator. And actually, it is an alternative tool compared to the traditional convertible notes. The reason why people like Safe Note, because it's flexible and there's no interest, there is no maturity date. So when people issue the safe, doesn't mean that they give the shares right away, like immediately, but only when the safe is triggered, then the safe will convert into the equity to the next round. So this is the way that people like, because it postpones the valuation of the company. Compared to safe, convertible notes is more like a hybrid. So when we are saying convertible notes, it's a debt instrument. So when you think of a debt, so definitely it will have principal, have interest, have maturity date, but also because it was the option to convert. So which means that this note give the holder the right to convert these notes into equity in the future when certain specific occasion happens. So that is reason it is a hybrid. So in one word, you can think of safe as a warrant to purchase, and consider convertible note as a debt instrument with the right to conversion.
That was great insight. So I know you were talking a little bit about both safe and convertible notes. So let's divide those up a little bit so that we can cover each one. So let's dive into safe first. Can you talk a little bit about what safe is, how it works, how startup founders can use this to their benefit?
Sure. Safe, as I said, it's a financial instrument used in early stage. So it provides the investor with the right to convert their safe into the equities in the future when specific occasion occurs. So basically, this is what we call the this is what we call qualified financing round. So basically, which means that in the definition, there will be a minimum investment. So you do not issue the shares right away. The holder will hold this safe note until the next subsequent financing round. So this is how safe works. As I said, it is very convenient for the investor because the safe, it is very important for people to understand. They do not have interest, they do not have maturity right, but however, it helps postpone the valuation of the company until the next round. So that is the reason why people like it. And once you issue the safe, the holder will receive the shares at a discount rate. This is what they like, because if you have a discount, which is actually considered as a reward for your earlier investment and for your earlier, decision maker. So that's the reason your earlier support help you to get discount.
That was really helpful. So it seems like with SAFE, there are a few terms associated with SAFE. I know founders should probably focus on certain keywords, key notes in this that would really help them understand this better. Can you talk about the key notes that founders should be aware of?
Sure. Because it's a simple agreement, but I also would like to mention just few very important points. The first is discount, as I mentioned. So when you're saying discount, so basically it actually is a reward for the earlier investment because they take higher risk in the early stage. So they deserve a discount. So discount range can be 10% to 30%. So it really based on internal negotiation with the investor. So let me give you an example. So for example, if you issue a safe with 20% discount, so which means that in the subsequent financing round, if the investor decided this company, should have like $10 per share. So because of this discount, the holder for safe will have the right to purchase at a purchase price at $8 because of the 20% off. So this is what the discount means. The second part is the valuation cap. So valuation cap sets the minimum price that what the convertible security will convert into the equities. So it is the maximum price secured investor. So basically, let us say if you invest a startup which with a 3 million cap. All right. And in the subsequent financing round, the new investor, based on their due diligence, they decide that the valuation of the company is 6 million. So of course, for them, the purchase price will based on the 6 million valuation. But because the valuation cap that you have in the safe note, so when you decide the purchase price, you will convert your safe into the equity as if it is only 3 million. So that is a really huge benefit for the investor. But of course, the funder will need to be aware of that because as we know, the valuation cap will specifically influence the purchase price for the safe note holder. So that is the reason that when you give a valuation cap, you should be cautious about it. And the last point I would mention is about the pro rata rights. So pro rata rights is the rights given to the investor to purchase additional shares to maintain their percentage in the next run. So therefore, these are the rights probably the investor are looking for when they have good faith and they want to have a say or they want to have a control or in the company. So that is the reason they want to have this opportunity as an option. It is not an obligation to keep their percentage. So I would say there are definitely a lot of other clauses which are also the same important. But for the safe, these are three that I would like to mention in this meeting. Yeah.
That's quite helpful for founders to focus on these all discounts, valuation caps, and pro rata rights. Definitely focus on those if you're going in this direction with SAFE. So let's talk about, I'm curious, what can trigger the conversion of SAFE into equity? Could you explain this process a little bit for us?
Sure. So this is all depends on the agreement. So this is what we always heard, probably hear from someone say it is a qualified financing. This term is defined in safe notes. Basically, safe will triggered by qualified financing, and the definition will almost involve a minimum investment amount. So which means that if the funders successfully raise a subsequent fundraising, reach to specific number, then the SAFE gonna be triggered. So this is the way that how to define. So when you know what is the qualified financing definition is, you will know exactly when the SAFE will be triggered.
Okay, so we've covered most of SAFE now. Let's move on to convertible notes. Let's talk about what convertible notes are, how these typically work in seed funding. What can you tell us about this?
Sure. Compared to SAFE, convertible notes is a debt instrument. So basically, which means that it will have principal, it will have interest, it will have maturity date. But however, there's another benefits, which means that they give the right to convert their notes to the equity in a qualified financing round. So basically, which means that the people also, the holder will have the right to convert their convertible notes into the equities, also at a discount rate. Basically, I think most of the convertible notes will contain a discount in their agreements. So this is what we call a convertible notes. It kind of secure the holder, because if there is no subsequent financing round, the convertible notes will also be repaid upon the maturity date. So this is another safe for them compared to safe note. But again, both of them are very common and very helpful tool, and really ideal tool for the initial seed run. So that's the reason people love both convertible notes and safe notes. It is quicker. So this is, all about convertible notes in a high level.
I agree. It's definitely helpful for founders to understand both options so that they can see which one works best for them, which one fits their startup better. So similar to SAFE, we were talking about key terms associated with each of these strategies, convertible notes being the next one we're going to cover. What key terms should founders understand about convertible notes? Can you give us some insight on that?
Sure. So because when we compare or we put the safe and convertible together, so definitely there will be some overlapping, between them, and of course there will be difference. So as I said, you can treat safe notes as a warrant to purchase, and the convertible notes as a debt instrument. Therefore, for the key terms, the holder or issuer will need to understand what the principal, the interest, the maturity date, and of course, because of the hybrid attribution, for the convertible notes, it gives the holder the right to convert into the equities. So of course, it also will contain the discount rate. It also will contain the cap valuation, and also the interest, as I mentioned. So these are all the the same and the difference point that we can discuss here.
So you mentioned conversion to equity towards the end of that statement. So let's talk about that a little bit. I know we asked you the similar question when we were talking about SAFE. So what would typically trigger the conversion of convertible notes into equity? What can you give us on that?
Sure. It really, first of all, it depends on the agreement. Something we call mandatory conversion, something we call automatic conversion. So these are all the definition actually put in the convertible notes to make sure everybody understand when it is mandatory or when it is automatic. So, and also it is similar actually to SAFE. So there definitely will be a valuation cap, and the qualified financing terminology is there because it's gonna trigger the convertible notes. It contain a minimum invest amount to trigger the convertible notes. So once investors successfully raise a round, then the convertible notes gonna be either automatically or on call to convert into equities.
Those are great insights. So, as with any legal agreement, I assume there are some risks involved. Can you highlight some of the potential legal risks when using safe or convertible notes for seed funding?
Sure, Arianna. I think it's a wonderful question because I think clients keep asking me what are the pro and what are the con, and what do we need to really aware of. So as we all know, each tool has pros and cons. So let me separate this topic into two. So in terms of benefit, as I mentioned, it can be quicker and less expensive because there are a lot of legal documents can be saved for later until the next qualifying run. So therefore, such as operating agreement, voting agreement, shareholder agreement, or amendment of article of incorporation, these documents can be saved for the later time until the next subsequent run race. So these are all the benefits. Of course, another benefit for both is that the convertible note and safe notes will postpone the valuation of the company. So because you don't need to evaluate the company right away when you issue, but postpone it to the next run. So at that time, the valuation also will take time. So because of this, benefits, so you don't need to do it right away and to save you a lot of time. But of course, for the con, definitely we will need to separate into the different topic, because there will be from investor side and from funder side.
So can we get into that a little bit? I know you said this was a two-part answer. So is there anything you can share in addition to that? We are almost out of time, so this might be our last question of the session. If you can expand on that a little bit, that'd be great. If not, we can move on to the next question. Let me know what sounds best.
Sure, no problem, Arianna. I don't realize the time flies. So so basically the risk, we need to separate it from investor perspective and funder perspective. So let us say safe. So although the people probably gonna be confused about its name, safe, but actually there is a risk. The reason is because when you are introduced about this terminology, actually you kind of know there's something missing, like maturity date, right? And only the qualified financing is there. So which means that there is a risk when you have the safe, but actually the company never ever get a chance to raise a subsequent fundraising. So if that is the case, that there will be no conversion happening. So that is the risk that the investor need to be taken care of. And of course, for in terms of funder side, so there are different types of safe. We just keep it very short here. There can be pre-money safe and post-money safe. There, I want to focus on post-money safe. So the post-money safe, a way to understand it in a simple way is that it convert first, and then new equity gonna be issued later. So because of that procedure, this is the formula how to calculate the purchase price. So therefore, actually the existing shareholders, specifically funders, will bear the dilution entirely instead of the new shareholder. So this is the way that funder need to be aware of, because when they sign the safe, they should know really how much percentage they are giving away and their give up. So this is the way that they need to think of. Otherwise, there will be a big surprise for them by the end of the day. Thank you, Arianna. I think that's all my answers.
Thank you, Esther. I appreciate you covering that in detail and highlighting the legal aspects that people need to take into consideration when it comes to these two tools for seed funding. So I do appreciate your time so much, Esther. We are out of time, so this does bring us to the end of our conversation. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. If you have any questions that were left unanswered, please email us at info@chuk.com anytime, and we'll be happy to help out. And to stay up to date, please like and subscribe and follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. If this video was helpful, please make sure to give it a like. And if you guys have any questions or suggestions, please reach out anytime, again, at info@chuk.com. We're always here to help you out. And make sure to join us back here next week for more pressing topics that truly matter to you and your business. Until next time, stay safe and take care. Thank you, everyone.